Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight we have breaking news just as we come on the air. The news conference just moments ago. The deadly ambush. Authorities say firefighters were lured into a deadly trap, what they've now revealed. There's also breaking news at this hour involving the Idaho college murders. The suspect in that case facing the death penalty, and now this stunning turn, what sources have told ABC News at this hour. And with the 4th of July travel now here, the severe storm set to hit New York City and Philadelphia. First tonight, what authorities just revealed, they believe firefighters were ambushed, that a deadly trap was set.
They're shot! Everybody shot up here!
Authorities say responding to a fire deliberately set. 2 firefighters killed, 1 critically wounded. There was also news breaking just as we come on tonight in the Idaho college murder case, what would be a stunning turn for defendant Brian Koberger after pleading not guilty and after months of delays, which sources are now telling ABC News the defendant has agreed to. Tonight, Senate Republicans trying to push through President Trump's massive tax cut for wealthy Americans and his cuts affecting health coverage for more than 11 million Americans, food stamps and college aid as well. Tonight, some critics in his own party defying the president now, and Elon Musk again warning against the bill, and he's now threatening Republicans who vote for it. In New York City tonight, the drama just as jury deliberations begin in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. What a note from the jury indicated late today. Tonight, just as millions travel for the 4th of July, those strong storms and damaging winds along the I-95 corridor up into Philadelphia and New York City in the next 24 hours, and we're tracking it. The dramatic rescue tonight, the Disney Cruise rescue boat racing to a father and daughter after the girl fell overboard, her father jumping in to save her. Record scene on opening day at Wimbledon, star player Carlos Alcaraz racing to a fan who had collapsed in the stands. And America Strong tonight, and this question, is 13 really an unlucky number? You won't believe what happened. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World.
Welcome to Hannity, and we begin this Monday night with a Fox News alert. Tonight, President Trump's one big, beautiful bill is now poised to pass the U.S. Senate at any moment. The biggest tax cut in American history is still on track to become law by July the 4th. Now, this would be a monumental achievement for the president and another huge promise made and huge promise kept. Now, don't get me wrong, bill's not perfect. There are provisions and policies that I prefer wording in there. For example, SALT deductions, state and local tax deductions. Well, that rewards blue states for electing tax and spend and high regulating politicians. But unfortunately, that's how the sausage in the swamp, if it's going to get made at all. And by the way, Lindsey Graham kept saying, no, we're going to pass this and we'll have another reconciliation bill and cut spending even further. Love to hear that. No one person, and I said this when I had the Senate town hall and the House town hall, none of you all understand, none of you are going to get everything you want. But at the same time, this legislation is packed with massive, huge, important wins for you, the American people. For Donald Trump's 2017 tax bill, largest history, Democrats will be voting against allocations for Donald's Golden Dome air defense project may go down one day when we're all long dead and gone as his greatest legacy and save millions of lives. Brought it up, and they called it Star Wars, and look what it's been able to do to protect Israel. There are other funds for mission. I call it the next generation. Because our military has been completely neglected the last 4 years under Biden and Harris. It also has funds for desperately needed border security and the deportations of all these criminals and terrorists, murderers, rapists, cartel members, gang members, other violent criminals, drug dealers in our country, and will put America on a path towards energy dominance and all the wealth that will come with that. The lifeblood of every economy on the face of the earth, we will be an energy-rich nation. And meanwhile, Biden-era climate rules and regulations, they will be repealed. The green tax credit will be eliminated. Biden's student loan scheme and scam, whatever you want to call it, will officially be over. And despite all of the fear-mongering from Democrats, here's what the bill doesn't do. It does not decrease Medicaid, Medicare, or Social
Tonight as we come on the air, murder suspect Ryan Koberger appears to be accepting a plea deal. What we're learning about the 30-year-old suspect accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students. With the death penalty on the table, why now and what does this mean for Koberger and how the victims' families are reacting tonight? The deadly Idaho ambush, law enforcement identifying the 20-year-old suspect who killed 2 firefighters and injured a third. The suspect found dead after an hours-long standoff as first responders hid behind trees and fire trucks. Did the gunman want to be a firefighter? What his family is telling us. Also breaking tonight, the ground stop and delays hitting major airports, the holiday week headache leading to delays and cancellations. What does this mean for your July 4th travel? The Diddy verdict watch, jury deliberations now underway for Sean Diddy Combs after 7 weeks of trial. Already a wild card from the jury, what it means for the case. The miracle at sea, a little girl falling off a Disney cruise ship. The man who jumped in to save her. The rescue all caught on camera. The man overboard call that alerted everyone of the emergency in the water. The battle on Capitol Hill over the president's big beautiful bill. Democrats trying to sink it. Why they may have just gotten help from Elon Musk, now calling the GOP the Porky Pig Party. Gone in a flash, Caitlin Clark now dominating sneakers. Her new Nike shoes selling out as the WNBA announces their expansion to add 3 new teams by 2030. Is your city on the list? And go get an engineer. We'll take you to the pitch for maybe the worst game of soccer on the planet. The face plants, headbutts, and pileups. Why this could be the future of AI sports.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
And good evening. We come on the air tonight with major breaking news.
Italian 1's rig. It's clear to me that this fire was intentionally to draw us in.
A sniper kills 2 firefighters in the mountains of Idaho. A third is fighting for his life.
This was a total ambush. These firefighters did not have a chance.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm John Dickerson. Maurice is off tonight. Firefighters run toward danger. It's in the job description, but the firefighters who responded to a wildfire in the mountains of northern Idaho over the weekend could not have imagined the danger they were about to face. Not only flames, but bullets. A sniper opened fire on them, killing 2, leaving a third fighting for his life. The local sheriff said the sniper set the fire to lure the firefighters to the scene. Why he did that, we may never know. The sheriff says the sniper, a 20-year-old transient who once aspired to be a firefighter, killed himself. Omar Villafranca is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Omar, we understand that actually the firefighters ran into this shooter before the shooting.
That's right. The sheriff says that the fire crews who were arriving interacted with Rowley and actually saw his truck and asked him to move it because they said it was blocking the way. And soon afterwards, that's when the shooting started. More than 300 officers from local and federal agencies, including sharpshooters and helicopters, tried to find the sniper.
Another Coeur d'Alene firefighter down. Needs help.
Live on air, gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Hannah Akwe, for an informative, interactive news program with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
It's a surprise.
I think there's a bit of truth to that.
Please join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, crunch time for the Prime Minister.
MPs will today vote on the controversial welfare bill.
After major concessions, will Sir Keir Starmer stand the first major test of his leadership in the Commons?
Backlash for the BBC Director General Tim Davie is dragged into the Glastonbury hate speech trial as it's revealed he was personally consulted over what to do about the performance.
Channel crossings continue to surge. GB News can confirm that almost 900 small boat migrants crossed the English Channel yesterday, taking the total so far this year to just under 20,000.
The Sovereign Grant is published as it's announced that the Royal Train will be scrapped in a cost-saving measure, but replaced by 2 helicopters.
We're going to be meeting the taxi charity who are taking military veterans to the coast for a day out to thank them for their service.
And as Wimbledon scraps line judges for the first time in its 148-year history, it has replaced them with AI. We're asking, has tech ruined the tournament?
And in sport this morning, well, Manchester City have been knocked out of the Club World Cup by a 7-goal thriller in extra time by Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal. A record 7 Brits have made it through to the second round at Wimbledon, and we can expect more later. And the fastest serve ever seen, or not seen, I guess, as the case may be, at Wimbledon was delivered yesterday.
Hello there, good morning. Another hot day in store across parts of the southeast, but further north, more cloud and also some showers. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Very good to see you wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening this morning. I'm Eamon Holmes. Good morning.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast. On this Monday night, tax off, talks on. Trade negotiations with the U.S. resume after Canada ditches the digital services tax. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump. How Carney is justifying the move. Feeling the extreme heat, the record-shattering temperatures in Europe and much of the Mediterranean. Tricked, trapped, and killed.
These firefighters did not have a chance.
A gunman's murderous plot against fire crews in Idaho. Plus, dangerous boxcars abandoned in the Bay of Fundy.
When they built them, I think they went over 250,000 pounds each.
The community feeling powerless after a failed tidal power project.
Global National with Donna Friesen reporting tonight and Gaviola.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Trade talks have resumed between Canada and the U.S. after a decision by Ottawa to drop its digital services tax. The levy was supposed to take effect today on big tech companies like Amazon, Meta, and Uber. But after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to walk away from negotiations, Ottawa backed down. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, is following the story tonight. David?
Well, and Canada's digital services tax, or DST, would have put about $1.2 billion this year into the federal treasury. But it was a non-starter in the U.S. for both the Biden and Trump administrations.
It was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax. That would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States.
The DST was approved by Parliament back in 2023. The idea was to put a levy of 3% on the income that foreign tech companies like Apple, Amazon, and Facebook owner Meta earn selling online services to Canadians. Tech companies would have passed that tax on to Canadian consumers had Ottawa proceeded to start collecting the tax Monday, as it said it would do Friday. But then, Trump threatened to walk away from trade talks.
We have all the cards. We have all the cards.
And so, the two leaders spoke by phone Sunday.
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America.
Canada's Prime Minister offered this up by way of explanation for the turnaround.
It doesn't make sense to collect tax from people and then remit them back, so it provides some certainty.
But it was clear that if Canada stuck with its DST, it was risking any chance of a trade deal with the United States. This is Asia Now.
It's 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 New Delhi, and 1 o'clock in Jakarta. Migration and at this hour. Thailand's political crisis deepens as the Shinawats face high-profile legal battles. Prime Minister Paetongtarn reshuffles cabinet posts just before the Constitutional Court is set to decide on a petition that could reshape her political future. Trade negotiations between U.S. and Japan in limbo as the window for a deal slowly closes. President Donald Trump threatens to end talks, calling Tokyo spoiled, while Japan says it will protect its own interests. And President Trump's big, beautiful bill also hanging in the balance as a marathon Senate vote grinds on. The White House confident the divisive measure will pass by the 4th of July deadline.
Good morning, it is 7 a.m. and on today's programme, the Prime Minister struggles to win over rebel MPs ahead of today's crucial vote on benefit cuts.
Are the government confident they will win? We'll ask the Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, in the next few minutes. Plus, what's happening to our energy bills? Prices are down today for 21 million households. We'll bring you the details shortly.
It is Tuesday, the 1st of July. Keir Starmer faces the biggest revolt of his premiership over welfare, with Labour rebels accusing the government of breaking promises. The UK UK's largest ever knife crime surrender scheme is being launched today. We've got a special report on the reality of knife crime. Europe bakes under a heat dome with temperatures of more than 40 degrees. And here in the UK, you can expect another scorcher. And Emma Raducanu rolls into the second round of Wimbledon on a historic first day for British players. Good morning, welcome to the Breakfast Show. Plenty ahead on a busy day. Now, the Prime Minister is in a...
This is CW News live from Berlin. A heat dome covers southern Europe, bringing sweltering temperatures and fueling wildfires. In Turkey, tens of thousands of people are forced to evacuate as firefighters struggle to contain blazes that are destroying homes, businesses, and farmland. Also on the program.
We are now facing the completion of the Gaza campaign and the achievement of its objectives.
Israel's defense minister suggests the war in Gaza could soon end. This as dozens more are killed in the Strip in Israeli airstrikes and by gunfire at distribution sites. And the fate of Donald Trump's signature legislation hangs in the balance. Senators vote on changes to the president's big, beautiful bill, which would add trillions of dollars to U.S. national debt.
The biggest names are on France 24. Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Hello and a warm welcome. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24, the headlines. Red alert warnings across Europe as temperatures continue to soar. Records reached as a heat dome hovers over France, Portugal and Spain. New highs expected to come with hundreds of schools already closing their doors. High temperatures fanning flames of wildfires, the biggest blazes in Turkey, where some 50,000 people have been evacuated. Meanwhile, at least 74 people killed in Gaza on Monday. Israeli bombs hitting one of the few cafes left open and striking Gaza City. Other people shot dead while queuing for food.
Good evening, I'm Amna Navaz. Jeff Bennett is away. On the NewsHour tonight, the Senate pushes the president's massive budget bill toward final passage, even as some Republicans voice concerns over cuts to Medicaid. More people in Gaza are killed while desperately trying to get food as the U.S. makes a new push for a ceasefire. And the U.S. Justice Department dedicates more FBI agents to investigate unsolved cases of missing and murdered indigenous people.
Everybody in Indian country knows. If you want to kill somebody and get away with it, you go to Indian country.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Narmeen Shea. Tens of thousands of Palestinians fled central and northern Gaza on Sunday after Israel issued new forced evacuation orders and began bombing eastern parts of Gaza City. Israel's stepped-up campaign follows another bloody weekend that saw scores of Palestinian civilians killed, including children huddled in tents, families taking shelter at a sports stadium, and starving Palestinians seeking food at militarized aid distribution sites. In Jabalia, rescue teams pulled at least 15 bodies from the rubble of a home leveled by an Israeli airstrike Sunday morning.
Today they forced us to leave, ordered us to evacuate, and then bombed us with shells and warplanes. Just as we were about to flee, they brought our homes down on us. What do they want from us? Let them tell us what they want. Enough is enough. About 10 people were killed in the house, most of them children.
Earlier today, 10 Palestinians were killed as they sought to collect food at an aid site in Gaza City. 2 more were shot dead at an aid distribution center in Rafah. The killings came after Haaretz reported Israeli officers and soldiers said they were ordered to fire at unarmed crowds near food distribution sites in Gaza, even when no threat was present. Gaza's health ministry reports such attacks have killed over 500 Palestinians since May. Meanwhile, an Israeli court in Jerusalem has cancelled hearings this week in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's trial, where he faces charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. The court's decision came just days after President Trump called for the charges to be thrown out. Russia launched hundreds of drones and missiles at Ukraine overnight Sunday in what Kyiv is calling Russia's largest aerial assault since its full-scale invasion. The attacks killed at least 4 civilians and targeted regions far from the front lines, including in western Ukraine, prompting Poland and its NATO allies to scramble jets along the border. Separately, Ukraine's Air Force said a pilot died when his F-16 jet crashed. Meanwhile, Russia's military said it seized more settlements in Ukraine's east. And for the first time, Russian forces have occupied a village in the east-central Dnipropetrovsk region. In Kyiv, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a decree Sunday withdrawing Ukraine from the Ottawa Convention, which bans the use of landmines.
Це стосується всіх країн, які...
This concerns all.
Africa News. The news.
As tensions grow between Iran and the United Nations nuclear watchdog, Tehran says it cannot allow IAEA inspectors to visit nuclear sites bombed by the United States and Israel during the recent war. How can they expect us to ensure the safety and security of the agency's inspectors when Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities were attacked last Monday, just 5 or 6 days ago? He also condemned US President Donald Trump's remarks, saying Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei should be grateful that he didn't order his assassination. Such worthless and insulting remarks are 100% and absolutely rejected and condemned, hurting the feelings of millions of Iranians and Muslims, both inside and outside Iran, and will result in nothing but an increase in hatred and disgust towards US policies regarding Muslims and the region. Iran has threatened to hold cooperation with the IAEA, which Tehran blames for providing a justification for Israel's bombing campaign.
Zimbabwean athlete Kirsty Coventry was officially inaugurated on June 23rd as the new president of the International Olympic Committee. At 41 years old, she becomes the first woman, the first African, and the youngest person to hold this position. The achievement has sparked a sense of pride in her home country, but the former Olympic swimming champion will have to tackle major sporting, social, and geopolitical challenges.
Things like the woke movement, the inclusion agenda, the transgender athletes issue that's burning right now. Aside that, she's got an Olympics coming in into the United States of America, which is now becoming the epicenter of sport. The geopolitics around the United States is not aiding because there's a lot of turmoil in the world at the moment. So she needs to quiet down the voices. She's got a big job in ensuring that the Olympic movement is seen as agnostic, sitting in the middle, and a way of celebrating talent.
Coventry is expected to deliver on a number of promises during her 8-year term.
One of the issues he spoke about was the support for athletes before they actually start, the opportunities for female athletes and the safeguarding for female athletes. And she spoke about giving new regions like Africa and the Middle East, those that have not hosted the Olympic Games, as some of it going to be the focus area.
Coventry will also have to acknowledge demands for more transparency in the IOC's decision-making process. She posed the hosting contest for the 2036 Summer Olympics in her first big decision.
When he takes to the court in October, US basketball star LeBron James will become the first NBA player in the history of the professional league to play a 23rd season. He's exercising the over $52 million option in his contract to remain with the Los Angeles Lakers until the season ends in April 2026. It's the biggest deal of the 40-year-old's career, topping the nearly $49 million salary he earned last year. James, who's been with the Lakers since 2018, recently returned to on-court workouts after taking several weeks to recover from a knee ligament sprain. Last season, he became the first NBA athlete to play with his son after Bronny James was signed by the Lakers.
The finest sheep Senegal House has to offer on full display at this pageant. Each contender vying for the crown and a boost in their bloodline prestige. Meet Nyan Fallow, a proud Mandela. His owner says he's among the most decorated rams in Senegal, and his band of hungry to get another title.
It's all based on measuring aesthetics because there's an aesthetic criteria, like the curvature of the head, the length of the tail, the symmetry of the forms of the hair. After that, they decide the forms first to a very, let's say, suitable scale, because there's a duration.
Yang Ballow's no stranger to the spotlight, and has racked up 6 titles since his vow. When 8 rounds wins, his value skyrockets. Professional breeder Mayam Dwal knows that all too well. His 18-month-old animal just took home best human name.
Pour moi, c'est un grand plaisir parce que
For me, it's a great pleasure. Before him, his father was dead, and now his son came along and just so it shows that the lineage is a good one, and that the lineage continues to learn supremacy. I believe that people will come and buy your supremacy. The price sheep can sell for tens of thousands. It's here, and a modest sum. No one would be able to call their sheep a child.